Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. This is Haley Gibson. Today I'm going to talk about depression and how to overcome it naturally. Depression is something that I've struggled with personally, and it's not something to take lightly. Depression is a very scary thing to struggle with, and you can feel really alone, and it can trap you and make you have negative thoughts that you never thought you would ever have. But here you are thinking them. And for me personally, what it boiled down to was I didn't have the nutrients in my body and I was completely worn down. But I didn't have the nutrients in my body to produce my neurotransmitters. So I was deficient in things like dopamine and GABA and serotonin and acetylcholine as well. And I got to a point where I just wasn't myself anymore. I was very flat. I went and saw a psychiatrist and they recommended that I take medications, but I didn't want to do that. I knew something else was going on with me and that I wasn't truly a depressed person. I just had something going on and I wasn't taking care of myself. So I had really negative thoughts. I thought that I was worthless and just had no place in the world, felt like I didn't have an impact, felt ugly, not good enough, felt just unhappy with my body, had very negative self-thoughts, and I just didn't get excited about anything anymore either. And this was a terrible thing to go through. So if you're struggling with depression, you're in my thoughts and prayers, and I truly hope that this video helps you in some way. So I had to take my negative thoughts and turn them into positive thoughts. And I'm going to give you some tools today about things you can do to help yourself beat depression, some things that I used personally. Depression is something that so many people struggle with. It's very common, so I don't want you to feel alone in your depression battle. About 1 in 4 adults in the U.S., more than 26% of the population, suffers from a diagnosable mental disorder. Anxiety, it affects more than 40 million Americans. Nearly 10% of the U.S. adult population has some kind of mood disorder for which powerful drugs are prescribed. That's about 30 million people on psychiatric drugs. Depression, which actually affects 1 in 10 of us, including a quarter of women in their 40s and 50s, depression is now the leading cause of disability worldwide. People with chronic depression oftentimes have significant biochemical imbalances in their neurological tissue. Depression is very common. You are not alone. You can be helped. So today I want to talk about things we can do. This is a little glance into my life now. My name is Haley Gibson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a functional diagnostic nutritionist and registered nurse. I do advanced lab reading and advanced supplementation. I help clients create a plan to overcome their health issues. Down below that, you can see myself at one of my really good friends. She got married that day. She looked beautiful, and that's our Mountain Challenge crew at the wedding. And then to the right of that, you can see myself with my fiance and his family. All right, let's talk about ways to boost our mood naturally. Depression has been thought of as a genetic flaw, but we have learned that this is not necessarily the case. Genetics does play a role, but epigenetics, we are finding, greatly influences gene expression. So I'm going to give you some applicable strategies to help reverse the depression process. The pharmaceutical industry has brought out dozens of blockbuster drugs to treat all these conditions with billions of dollars of revenue every year. Many individuals have gotten some benefits from these medications. I don't want to say that they're not ever necessary, because there are some instances where genetics does take over to the point where medications are necessary, or even just epigenetics and you need some temporary relief. Most report short-term benefits, but not really getting long-term results. So the reason being, unfortunately, none of these drugs treat the root cause of why we are depressed. So this slide gives us some great strategies. The sunshine, getting outside and having the sun beat down on your skin and get the vitamin D flowing and get the nature just into your body, feel the energy from the sun and be outside. This can help you produce neurotransmitters as well. This does produce feel-good hormones. Avocados is rich in nutrients that promote serotonin production. Grass-fed dairy products also rich in things that produce serotonin production. Green smoothies, these are going to be full of nutrients that promote the neurotransmitter balances that we've been talking about. So one of the biggest things about depression, why does it happen? If we think about what you need to have your neurotransmitters balanced, we have serotonin, GABA, and dopamine as three of our main neurotransmitters. So serotonin is your feel-good neurotransmitter, the one that produces your overall mood, how you're feeling. It regulates your appetite. It helps you sleep at night. So people who are struggling with insomnia and a depressed mood may be struggling with a serotonin deficiency. So you actually need amino acids, and you need lots of B vitamins and magnesium and calcium to help produce these neurotransmitters. So the green smoothies, they have lots of B vitamins in them. They have the phytonutrients in them that help produce these neurotransmitters. Coconut oil and butter, these things are going to help you absorb the nutrients appropriately and then also create healthy cell membranes so that you're able to take in the nutrients and get out the waste and just keep the cells flowing. This also helps create hormones. One of the big things that we've noticed is that women have taken on to a low-fat diet over the past few decades, and now we're finding that their sex hormones are greatly disturbed and their cortisol levels are greatly disturbed because they don't have the cholesterol that they need in order to produce those things. Nuts, seeds, and chocolate, these things are full of nutrients that actually boost serotonin and dopamine production as well. We do want to regulate our blood sugar. You see stevia-based desserts. We want to keep sugar out of the diet because the fluctuations in blood glucose and insulin surges, those will create an unstable environment in our bodies, and that will lead to, eventually, it can lead to depression. If we get dehydrated, I know for myself, if I get dehydrated, I start to get a little moody. Well, we need good hydration to keep our bodies functioning appropriately. We've talked in nature a little bit, but I also want you to touch nature. Really ground yourself in nature. Feel at one when you go outside and just soak it all in. Be present in the moment. Walking on the grass with your toes, feeling the nature underneath you, that's not something we do very often anymore, but it can be so helpful for just relaxing you and bringing you some inner peace. Laughter and exercise. Laughter is such a powerful healing modality, and we forget about it. We just get busy and forget to laugh. Well, I encourage you to laugh about the little things in life and to not take yourself so seriously and to just enjoy life. Take on the little moments. Love yourself for who you are in this moment on your journey. Don't say you're going to love yourself when you reach that point of, whatever your goals are. Love yourself for where you are right now in the journey. Good sleeping habits and good personal care. These things are going to help us beat depression. So the body creates inflammation in order to prevent against infections. Since systemic infections have killed more people in the history of mankind than anything else, it makes sense that the body has adapted to hardwire a sophisticated inflammatory mediating system. What I mean by that is it makes sense that our body has created an inflammatory response to these things. So one major inflammatory mediator is called a cytokine. Cytokines are cell signaling molecules that aid cell-to-cell communication and immune response and stimulate the movements of cells towards sites of inflammation, infection, and trauma. So some examples of cytokines that you may have heard of, these include interleukins and interferons. These are found in abundance in sites of inflammation. So individuals with depression have been shown to have higher levels of inflammatory cytokines in their neurological tissue. One study showed that individuals suffering from significantly higher plasma inflammatory cytokines compared to a control group, and after 12 weeks of treatment, they saw these markers reduced. So cytokines, an influx of cytokines. Growing evidence suggests that specific cytokines signal the brain to generate neurochemical, neuroimmune, neuroendocrine, and behavior changes. An imbalance of cytokines within the central nervous system, or even systemically, may play a role in the pathophysiology of mood disorders. So this is really great research that can help us figure out what to do about depression in these individuals. A New England Journal of Medicine review on major depression stated this, I'm quoting from the article. Numerous studies of norepinephrine and serotonin metabolites in plasma, urine, and cerebrospinal fluid, as well as post-mortem studies of the brains of patients with depression, have yet to identify the purported deficiency reliably. So this also explains why natural anti-inflammatories outperform antidepressants in clinical trials. These natural anti-inflammatories include things like exercise, sun exposure, omega-3 fatty acids, curcumin, resveratrol, and adaptogenic herbs such as ashwagandha. These are great examples of things that help the body produce the neurotransmitters and regulate inflammation. There has been a tremendous amount of research linking the gut microbiome and neurological health. Gut bacteria produce hundreds of neurochemicals that the brain uses to regulate its physiological processes, as well as mental processes. So the gut microbiome is going to affect learning, memory, and mood. So for example, the gut bacteria manufacture about 95% of the body's supply of serotonin. 95% is a huge chunk. So if we have any kind of dysregulation going on there, it would make sense that our serotonin production will be altered, and then our mood will be altered as well. And this just leads down, the path of not only your mood being dysregulated, but the way that you sleep, and then your appetite, and then it just turns into a spiral from there. Research has indicated that low levels of healthy lactobacillus and bifidobacterium are linked with increased brain excitability and neurological inflammation. These microbes help to break down the neurotransmitter glutamate into the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA. Low levels of GABA production are associated with anxiety, seizures, depression, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, pathogenic microbes can secrete toxic metabolites that cause increased excitatory responses in the brain and so when we have this increased cytokine activity in the brain, that's what we were talking about on the slide prior to this, the excess in cytokines and inflammation, it may do something with the communication with the neurotissue, but it just it's associated with depression overall. Pathogenic microbes, they also secrete toxic metabolites. So this can increase excitatory responses in the brain, and it also increases inflammatory cytokines. So when I think of this, I think of lipopolysaccharide. I'm not sure who's heard of that, but lipopolysaccharide is a very common neurotoxin that is released from certain pathogens, and this is very toxic for the brain, and it does create depressive-like behavior. The blood-brain barrier is a tight network of blood vessels that is designed to only allow small nutrients to pass into the brain. This is a mechanism, the blood-brain barrier, is a mechanism the body uses to protect the brain from oxidative stress, infectious microbes, and chronic inflammation. So when blood sugar is thrown off balance, it leads to openings in the blood-brain barrier. And this allows for toxins to cross into the brain and increase inflammatory activity as well. It will reduce neurotransmitters, and it leads to increased states of anxiety and depression. And once you get to this point, it can be very hard to get out of. Blood sugar imbalances also lead to nutrient deficiencies in key B vitamins, trace minerals, and magnesium. So this just further exacerbates the blood-brain barrier breaking down, and it increases oxidative stress and inflammation. I thought this slide was really interesting. Could soda and sugar be causing your depression? Fructose malabsorption, a very common condition with surprising correlates. So a large percentage, about 30 to 50% of the population in Central Europe suffers from certain types of carbohydrate malabsorption. Undigested fructose in the colon feeds bacteria and leads to bloating, cramping, and diarrhea. So think of irritable bowel syndrome, how everyone's diagnosed with that now. That is just, picture perfect as someone with IBS. I actually begin to think a little bit more so than that. I start to think of the microbes that could be off balance. We could be experiencing something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Another study of 3,456 middle-aged civil servants published in British Journal of Psychiatry showed that a diet which contained a lot of processed foods had a 58% increased risk for depression. Whole foods had a 26% reduced risk of depression. So that just goes to show you how important what you put in your body truly is. So a processed diet is not going to have the enzymes and the nutrients that are in the whole foods that keep your cells healthy and keep the flow of neurotransmitters and hormones going. So gluten is a common protein molecule found in wheat, barley, rye, kamut, and spelt. Gluten, let's read this little thing. 73%, that's 3 out of 4 people with gluten sensitivity have lack of blood flow to their brain. Gluten, why is this particle so incredibly harmful for some individuals? Gluten is a sticky storage protein that binds to the small intestinal wall, where it often causes digestive and immune system disorders. So there is extensive research about gluten sensitivity and disorders in every part of the neurological system. Gluten is a significant trigger in psychiatric disorders such as anxiety, bipolar disorder, depression, and schizophrenia. So if you're struggling with any sort of mood disorder, I highly advise cutting out gluten and seeing how you respond. Even if you just cut it out for 2 weeks, just see how you respond, see how you feel overall. Every single cell in the body has something called mitochondria. Mitochondria are considered the powerhouse of the cell. What it does essentially is produce the energy for your body to function. High levels of oxidative stress wear down the mitochondria and they cause a dysfunctional state. Studies have found that individuals with major depressive disorder have an advanced state of mitochondrial dysfunction. So one thing we can do is to help boost up mitochondrial function, and there's different ways we can do this. We want to increase our antioxidant intake so that we reduce free radicals, we reduce the oxidative stress and inflammation. So a diet and healthy greens and vegetables, that's a great place to start. Cutting out the sugar. So whenever we produce energy, every single time we do this, we actually create free radicals in the process. So we could be running out of those sources. We do something called an organic acid test, and something I find that's pretty common is mitochondrial dysfunction related to deficiencies in enzymes and B vitamins and antioxidants. So a great way to boost up mitochondrial function is that. Intermittent fasting and exercise, both of those are really great to boost it up as well. So this is a supplement that we use to help boost up those pathways. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. Poor blood sugar control and high environmental toxin exposure are known to deplete something called glutathione and impair the mitochondria, what we were just talking about. So glutathione is actually the major antioxidant in the body. A key pathway that maintains the glutathione levels and the ability of the cell to adapt to stress is called KEAP1 NRF2. When this pathway breaks down, it causes increased levels of oxidative stress within the cell that leads to the glutathione depletion and mitochondrial dysfunction. So this pathway is important to address in order to prevent or reverse depressive symptoms. So this is something we use to help boost up that pathway. You can find this at drjockers.com. Methylation is something else that can lead to depression. So what exactly is methylation? Quite simply, it is a transfer of a methyl group, which is 1 carbon and 3 hydrogen atoms. And you can transfer this onto proteins, amino acids, enzymes, DNA, every cell and tissue of the body. Every cell and tissue of the body experiences some type of methylation. And you can see here all the different things that methylation affects. One of them, turning on and off genes. I think of cancer growth, building neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin. So I think of anxiety and depression if those are out of whack. It processes and metabolizes hormones such as estrogen, which if that is out of whack can also lead to depression. Methylation builds immune cells. So if you have poor methylation, you may be sick all the time. So that is another thing that I think of. It does reduce the body's ability to reduce the toxic load. So again, just liver congestion and overall dysfunction. Synthesis of DNA and RNA. So that process of creating DNA is actually misconstrued, and what can happen is mutation in the DNA, and that can lead to cancer. It's also a big role in producing energy, and it also produces a protective coating on our nerves. This is called myelination. So you can see if we have a lack of nutrients that are important for methylation. This would include magnesium, zinc, vitamin C, and your B vitamins, specifically B2, B6, B12. And it does include the other ones, but those are the 3 dominant ones. So if we have any issues with those things, adapting to stress and the challenges of life is an aspect that methylation really helps us overcome. Well, if we have poor methylation, we're not able to adapt very well. Research shows that individuals with depression have altered methylation processes. This could be related to genetic polymorphism. So the MTHFR gene, MTRR, and COMT, this can promote to poor methylation along with the nutritional deficiencies. I talked about some of the important vitamins and minerals, but here's a couple more. So B2, riboflavin, and folate, those are also important. Magnesium, selenium, zinc, and other trace minerals. Individuals with depression are often deficient in these, so taking something like a good multivitamin that has methylated B vitamins in it, that can be really helpful. Chiropractic is important to help overcome depression as well. We want our nerve system to have uninterrupted flow from brain to the organs. We want our body communicating effectively. So if we need to get our spine adjusted or at least assessed in order to make sure that we have nerve impulses flowing the way that they should be. The brain is primarily water, fat, and cholesterol. These are all the key building blocks for promoting healthy brain function and rebuilding a damaged brain. So these are the top 10 anti-inflammatory foods. Reason being, the nutrients that they contain. They are the building blocks for the neurotransmitters and hormones. And they're also the building blocks for our cells, and they reduce free radicals, all of the things we've been talking about. So you have your coconut oil, your olive oil, coconut water, ginger, lemon, avocado, bone broth, turmeric, pumpkin seeds, apple cider vinegar, and pink Himalayan sea salt. All of these are really great foods to help fight inflammation. So here are 20 great new NeuroBukh exercises to use. So all of these are really great for fighting depression as well. And this is my last slide, I believe. So using essential oils, you can use things like lavender to help calm you, peppermint and eucalyptus to help clear the mind. Other things you can do, so using your non-dominant hand, this can help stimulate the opposite side of the brain that you're used to stimulating, and this can just create new neural pathways. Our brain wants to grow. It wants to learn new things, so this can just help your brain communicate between cells better as well as form new pathways. Looking at colors, we want to see warm, vibrant colors. Try a new instrument. Just trying something new in general, crossword puzzles and board games. All of these things are going to help you just develop new pathways in your brain. Walking barefoot, sitting outside and journaling, try a new food or dish. So to me, what this is telling me is to live every day with a purpose, seek out different opportunities to try new things, and embrace it. Don't be someone who says no to everything. You'll be surprised what happens and how much you may enjoy something whenever you do say yes. Take time for yourself. Sit down and do that thing you've been wanting to do for a long time that you've just never gotten around to, even if that's just watching a funny movie by yourself. Whatever it may be, take yourself out. Go out with friends. Take someone else out. Writing instead of typing. Looking at a computer screen can become really depressing, and the light can become really harmful for our eyes and brain. So if we can limit our computer and cell phone exposure, this will also help overcome depression. Not to mention, nowadays, most of the time we are just looking at Facebook and social media and comparing our lives to other people's lives, and this can also lead to depression. And what's on social media is not a fair representation of what is going on in that individual's life. So don't ever assume that because someone looks happy and perfect on social media that they are happy and perfect. That is most often not the case. And you shouldn't hold yourself to that standard anyway. You should love yourself for where you are in the journey and really take pride in who you are. Learn your specific gifts and what you have to offer the world. Meditation, laughter, be thankful. Take time out of your day to think about what you're thankful for. I know for me, I am just happy to have an apartment to call home, and I can come home to it and I have the things that make me happy are like my pictures of my families and friends. I have my Bible here that I read, and that really gets me centered and focused. It helps me realize what's important in life. Spending time with my loved ones, quality time. I'm just so thankful to even have the ability to have friends and to associate with them and be active with them and, share life. Thankful for pretty days. The list goes on and on. So just find things to be thankful for. Teaching others. Teach others what you know. People want to know what you know. And you could be the best for teaching them that. So share what you know. Closing your eyes, trying new hobbies, rearrange your home, go someplace new. So reorganize the clutter, change up what's going on. What are you looking at? Practice some deep breathing. This is also really effective. Get yourself into that parasympathetic mode versus the sympathetic and calm yourself down. Deep breathing really promotes overall healing, and it gives us a sense of calmness. You can do that with your essential oils. while you sit down and you journal. So there, do 3 altogether. And get some laughter going in your life. So this is myself and Dr. David Jockers. Like I said, we do local as well as long distance consultations. If you have any questions about any health problems you may be struggling with and just want someone to help you through it or someone to talk about it, I'm happy for you to email me. I'm very open and I want to hear from you. I want to hear about your struggles and I want to be the person who helps you through those. You can email me at nutrition@drjockers.com. So have a great day. Thanks for listening.